To me, one of the tenets of wealth is good food, good healthy food, and at a real price, not at a controlled price. We saw in the last Great Depression that food prices were being controlled, and farmers were actually destroying food because they were worried about reduction of the price of food and lack of income, because they were so in debt, while the people were starving. And that makes no sense. Of course, if you have a society that does not try to keep its own members healthy, happy, and well educated, and etc., then something's wrong already. And the thing that was wrong in the Great Depression was the banking system, and the thing that goes wrong right now is exactly the same system, the banking system, with credits that they give to farmers to buy fertilizer. And if farmers cannot get the credit, or the crop fails and they are run into debt, then they just stop farming. You know, they have a choice. I can stop and reduce and limit my debt, or I can go on and increase my debt and then run the risk of being totally bankrupted forever. And that's a real danger right now. And a couple of months ago, that was quite a prominent danger, that farmers would stop growing food because they couldn't buy the fertilizer anymore, or the seeds. Of course, that industry is completely controlled, because the seeds are only for one crop, and they're genetically modified to be dependent on certain insecticides or herbicides, etc., etc. And the farmers were kind of deciding not to plant new crops, and that would have been a huge disaster. But it can still turn into a disaster, because of course not all farmers have been taken care of in their credit lines. And so I think that if you're a free person in the US, you should be thinking, or you could be thinking about growing some of the food yourself, and or with a group of people. So together you start a garden to grow some food. And of course, it sounds strange in like Western modern society, but it's very practicable. It's very doable. My mother is somebody that grows a lot of food, and also trees. If you plant an apple tree or a walnut tree, you'll be able to pick those walnuts for a long time and even sell them. And to give an example, my grandmother, she had chickens and fresh eggs all the time, and she lived in the middle of Amsterdam. So of course Holland is a rural agricultural society from the beginning. But anyway, there's a bill in Congress now that tries to restrict people that want to grow their own food. It basically demands that you register whatever kind of little planting you have going on. If you have an orchard or a farm of any form, or you have aquaculture, which is a very productive way of growing food, then you should register online, or you have to register online. And a very bad property of that agency is, once again, as with the other government agencies like the IRS, that they can accuse you of something and then you have to prove your innocence. So there's an interesting bill, and there's a very nice article that I came across when I was looking into food production in the US that outlines the dangers of that bill. And it would be really dramatical, of course, if in a time that people are, the best thing would be if they just start taking care of each other and forget about all their debts and etc., but just for instance grow food that you don't have to import, because you cannot no longer afford foreign currency with your dollar, but you have like acres and acres of fertile land just around you lying unused. That just in that period some government agency comes into play that restricts that activity, because that would be disastrous. And of course there's lots of arguments against such a new agency that overlooks kind of food safety if you have a home produced food, because the current Food and Drug Administration agency doesn't seem to work either. And I have a link to a little discussion about that. Anyway, that to me is one of the four basic elements that can create wealth with very little effort.